give folks a. All right. So I have the honor of introducing our guest speaker today, Jeanette Cole. And Jeanette has been a passionate horse person since she was a young girl riding bareback with her best friend through the woods of Connecticut. She's an avid pleasure trail rider, a sometime competitive distance rider, and the proud owner of Spirit, a quarter horse mare, and Ruthie, an 18-year-old rescue mule. A former operations manager for several food manufacturing companies, including Kraft, Ben& and Jerry's, Yum, Unilever, Agrimark, and Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, Jeanette retired in 2021 and has ramped up her longtime efforts as an equestrian volunteer. In addition to serving the Eastern Competitive Trail Riding Association and the Green Mountain Horse Association, she also volunteers as a reading mentor at the elementary school in her hometown of Northfield, Vermont. For over a decade, she has been an enthusiastic volunteer for the Vermont Horse Council and is currently the organization's president. Jeanette has shared that she is looking forward to meeting you all and for conversation on the subject of how equestrians can get more done together. So please join me in welcoming Jeanette Cole.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. And I do have Monica Raymond with me, who is our trails coordinator. And we'll let Monica do a little bit of introduction for herself when we get to the trails slides. And she can give you a little background. She has a lot of experience also. So I'm really pleased to be here and have been asked to speak with all of you. I'm super impressed that you've got so many people on the line for your annual meeting. It's always nice to see that the workload is helped and spread out amongst a lot of people. So some of this will ring true, and I'm hoping that we can spend some time just having open communication about ways we can collaborate.
Fans would be able to get an autographed item by a current player. One player also could be.
Oops. See if I can get this to go. Here we go. So this is meant to be an open discussion, and I want everyone to just jump in and please add your ideas. This is a very short presentation just to stimulate collaborative discussion and some ideas, and I hope that we might come away with some ways to and some tangible items to consider. And if you're like me, sometimes I just need time to mull over what's been said. And so if you need to get in touch with us, either Monica or myself, you can do that through the VermontHorseCouncil.org. Our board members are listed on our webpage. And then this is my email, president@VermontHorseCouncil.org. So our board is made up of these officers. We have a president, a vice president, secretary, treasurer. We have a bookkeeper who is not necessarily on the board, but she's been with us for many years, and she helps to keep us in line from a fiduciary standpoint. It's a checks and balance for our treasurer. And then we have 7 board members that also make up the operating group for the Vermont Horse Council. And then on the right-hand side of the screen are the things that we are currently working on. As you guys are probably aware, there's always many, many more things to do than we have the resources to accomplish. But these are the ones that we're most focused on for this year. The first one is our Equine Industry Committee and Legislative Committee. We've been doing a lot of work, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So it was really interesting to hear Josie talk about Farm Bureau and what you are doing in New Hampshire from a legislative standpoint. Trails, which Monica will talk about, our members are, whenever we do surveys, are most interested in trails. So it's the number one response that we get. So Monica will talk a little bit about what we do in that regard. We've been working really hard on ramping up our business membership and also the benefits for our business membership and sort of redoing how that looks for the organization. They help. We only really have membership to drive our income for the organization. And so business members are very, very important to us. Then we have general membership. We have a new board member who's interested in safety And then, of course, we have all the administrative duties that have to be followed in order for us to be a nonprofit in the state of Vermont, and to make sure that we have the right paperwork in place so that we can get grants from from a federal standpoint. So our membership, as I said, are divided into two areas. We have our members on one side, and then the business, nonprofits, farms, clubs on the other side. These are some of the things that we do to interface with each of those. So for the members, we have a really nice program that Monica took hold of and really developed, where we have private landowners in the state of Vermont who opened their large tracts of land for Vermont Horse Council members only. So you have to be a member to access those trails, and some of them are quite beautiful, and most of them are quite beautiful. And so Monica will talk a little bit about that when she talks about trails. We are the interface for the one equine voice for Vermont. And so when people from the horse community have issues or want questions, they access us, and we work very hard to be responsive to their needs. We have a whole media section through our webpage and Facebook posts and newsletters and face-to-face events, similar to what you're doing, your annual meeting. And then we do a lot on education and hosting of events. And this year is our 50th anniversary, so we have a couple of special things in store to celebrate the historic side of the Vermont Horse Council and also where we are going forward. And then on the business side, we have done summits, business summits, industry summits every year. This year we are not going to do one because we're working so hard on legislation, and I'll talk a little bit about that in more detail. And then we have a robust directory for our businesses. And then again, we're working to ramp up our media interface with our business members, starting a specific business newsletter for them and giving them opportunities to interface with our members and with the equine community as a whole. We do set up a list of goals, and I'm not going to read through all of these. These are available on our website. But we get together as a board at a retreat. We just got done with this in February, and we break our goals up into communication, trails, education, legislation, and administration. And these are the things that we've committed to as a board to deliver to the members for 2025. And just as an aside, we're hoping that some of this collaboration we can do with New Hampshire Horse Council will help, because for us each to develop these educational events from the ground up, or trails events from the ground up, it takes a lot of work. And if we can just collaborate, then we can add value to our members in a reciprocal way. So from a legislation standpoint, I'm working with the Coalition of Horse Councils, which is through the American Horse Council, to have a nonprofit law presentation. When I went to Kansas in 2016, they had a lawyer present, and they did an excellent job. And so I reached out to Kansas again, and we're trying to get this scheduled for March or April. And so we'll keep you guys posted on this. We're hoping it's a free presentation that will help us to make sure that we're in line and we're thinking about the right things as a nonprofit organization. Our biggest wins and most work has been done on making sure that Vermont horse farms are recognized equitably in the area of the Vermont statutes for current use and for income. So as I think Josie was saying, that horses are recognized as livestock, that's the same for Vermont, but they're not always recognized equitably from a tax standpoint as a business for farms. And so they don't get the horse farms like the therapeutic riding or people who are doing boarding or um, are doing lessons. Those individuals do not get the same tax benefits as other farmers in the state get. So we've been working very hard with our Senate and House to put a bill forward that would change the current use and change the tax ramifications for horses. And we have a first pass of that bill, H 0273, and that's we're still working on that, but it's been introduced, and we are super excited about it. Um, Monica serves on the Vermont Greenways Council, and this is a group of trail users within the state. The group was commissioned by the governor as an advisory council for trails use within Vermont. And so we have a seat at the table for equestrians, which I also heard it from you guys that sometimes we're not always thought about on first blush. And so we continually have to be raising our voices so that equestrians are not forgotten in the use of our natural resources within the state. We're very active with the Vermont Farm Bureau. They help us with lobbying and also with their expertise as lobbyists. With particularly, they've been super helpful on this bill that we've just been introducing. So we partner closely with the Farm Bureau and also are trying to encourage horse owners to become Farm Bureau members because as the dairy industry continues to diminish, so does the membership in the Vermont Farm Bureau, and it's an important organization for keeping agricultural uh, in the forefront of our legislators. We're getting ready to be on the board of VOREC, which is the Vermont Outdoor Recreation, let's see, Economic Collaborative. And again, this is a group of people who make sure that the natural resources and outdoor use in the state of Vermont are sort of aligned and synchronized. And so we're really pleased to be potentially getting a real seat at the table in this group. And then we have our vice president is a paralegal and she has expertise and she continues to help us to make sure that we're in compliance with 501-3C status. For instance, we updated our bylaws this past year to make sure it reflects the statutes from the state of Vermont. And it's really nice to have somebody with legal expertise on our board. One of our big initiatives for our kickoff for our 50th is the Spring Fling, and we're collaborating with the Rutland Fairgrounds and the Marble Valley Trail Riding Group to help put this event forward. They have been doing this for a number of years. I see a huge potential for this. So if you think about equine affair, this is equine affair with your horses. So we're trying to link together the ability for equestrians to bring their horses to the Rutland Fairground and to be able to interface with vendors there. So for example, if you wanted to have your saddle fit, there would be saddle fitters there, or if you needed to figure out new bit, or you wanted to have somebody do red light treatment on your horse, things like that. That you could potentially bring your horse and also have appointments with these vendors. So the person that's really spearheading this is Andrea Hathaway, and she's been very busy with with a snowmobile exhibition at the fairground. And so now March 1st is our start date to really start planning this. So stay tuned for more information on this in the future. And these are some of the, March 10th will really be our day to shine. And these are some of the organizations that we're coupling with. The Morgan Horse Association is going to do a Fantasia-like event that will happen in the afternoon of the 10th. They're going to do the history of the Morgan horse. There's going to be a Liberty demonstration with Morgan horses, and then their youth group is going to do a presentation, either a drill team or some other exhibit that the group would like to showcase. The Vermont Hunter Jumper Association is doing jumper schooling rounds, so you could bring your horse and school over rounds. You pay a fee, and then you get so many minutes in the ring at whatever levels of jumping you want to do, and people will be there to reset jumps, and you can bring your trainer, and you can school and be the kickoff for your show season. Rutland Fairgrounds also has a half-mile beautifully footed track that goes around the fairgrounds, and we're opening that track up for a fee for up to 4 horses at a time, so that you can pace your horse, figure out how fast it walks, how fast it trots, how fast it canters, or if you just want to do some endurance, see what your recovery rates are, or things like that. That will be available. And then we're doing a booth and kicking off, again, our celebration for the 50th. And I'm going to turn it over to Monica for talk about a little bit about trails.
Right, thanks, Jeanette. So I'm Monica Raymond, and I've been an equestrian most of my life, off and on, more off than on, until about 10 years ago when I get back into it and leased a horse, and then bought my first horse when I was in my 50s, and have been super involved in equestrian activities since then. And I have one horse. He's a draft cross, and I mostly trail ride. I take some dressage lessons, mostly just for the discipline. I don't compete. And my friend Carrie Garvey and I have a blog and a website called horsetrailchicks.com that you may or may not have seen. And it's all about trail riding. So, and we have maps and things, places to ride, mostly in Vermont, a little bit in New York. So that's my horsey life. So I'm on the board of directors of the Horse Council, and I'm the Trails Committee chair. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the committee does and what the Horse Council does related to trails. As Jeanette said, most of our members, in fact, like 98% of the members, when people join, they say what their interests are, and about 98, I think well over 90% are interested in trails, and they are interested in other things as well, like legislation, but pretty much everybody is interested in trails. So we have had this was before my time, before joining the Horse Council, Jeanette was part of that. We entered into a cooperative agreement with the state, Vermont Agency of Natural Resources. I don't know if you have something similar in New Hampshire, but what this involves is us, the Horse Council being sort of the voice of equine recreation on state land. So we work very closely with the state. Actually under the Agency of Natural Resources is a department called Forest Parks and Recreation, and we work directly with them because they manage the state forest, state parks, and the recreation on those lands. And so we monitor, we're aware of the trails that horses are allowed on. Horses are not allowed on all trails in the state forests or parks. But the ones that we are allowed on, we monitor them, we help maintain them, we help map them, put signage up, that kind of thing, and in collaboration with the state. So we do a certain amount of maintenance, but we also will report to them if, there's like a huge tree down or something's been washed out where they're going to have to come in and repair it. We let them know. We report to them, and we meet with them annually, and we report to them our activities and what we're planning for the year to come, and work collaboratively on that. And then a big part of this is for opening new equestrian trails. And so, for example, Willoughby State Forest is a beautiful state forest in the Northeast Kingdom. not far from New Hampshire. So this might be of interest to you all in terms of coming over here to ride. It's a state forest that has some old CCC roads on it, Forest Service roads, and up till just recently, horses were only allowed on those roads. We were not allowed on any of the like the trails in the wood, the forest trails, single track trails. And so they have a process where like the bike community or the horse community, whatever, if there's a use that's not currently allowed, it can be requested. And so the horse council, since we're the representative, we can go through this process of saying we would like equestrian access to these certain trails in this forest. And it's a very long, very complicated process, involves them getting foresters out and endangered species people, and there has to be public comment and all that. But ultimately, we just heard a couple weeks ago, Jeanette, that the trails we've been asking for, most of the trails we've asked for access to in Willoughby State Forest are now accessible for equestrians. So it's a great service to the state. We also work with the Green Mountain National Forest in very similar ways. We don't have a formal agreement with them, but we do work with them on trail access, camping, all kinds of things with them, same idea. Of course, we try to get grant funding for trail projects. We're hoping to get one soon for a parking area at a place that allows horses, but the parking is very limited. We've gotten grant funding to put up small corrals at state parks where horses are allowed to camp, or you're allowed to camp with your horses. And so we put up corrals and infrastructure, so various things with grants. We hold trail maintenance days to clean up trails and get them ready for riding. And then Jeanette also mentioned the member benefit, and I just want to clarify one thing. So these are landowners. We have 2 of these right now. We're hoping to get some more, but so for example, there's a landowner. Well, both of these landowners that we have, they allow riders on their land, but generally it's kind of word of mouth, like their friends, people they know, and then they want to allow people on their land, but it's not going to be open to the public. And so we approached them and asked, would you be willing to open this up to our members as a member benefit? And so a person does not have to be a member to go there, but if you're not a member, you probably don't know about it. So the benefit to the members is getting the information, sort of getting the blessing of the landowner that because you're a member of the horse council, you can come on the property. And both of them allow camping as well. So you can camp with your horse, and they have beautiful big fields for camping and wonderful trails. And then collaboration with horsetrailchicks.com, which is Carrie and my website, which, as I mentioned, one of our goals for the website is to provide very in-depth information about places to ride. So as all of you know, if you go to things like trails.com or All Trails, or if you go to Trail Finder, they might say horses are allowed in a particular trail system, but you have no idea if there's any parking. You don't know if you can turn your rig around. You don't know what the footing is like. And so we provide very in-depth information and photographs of the parking lots, sizes of the parking lots, all that. And so we both started that before we joined the Horse Council. So we kind of just we cross over information so that members of the Horse Council, well, actually anybody, but you can go through the Horse Council to get to Horse Trail Chicks to get some of those detailed maps and things of places to ride in Vermont and beyond. And then we have and that's another thing that we're working on, is mapping trails. We've got other places like Coolidge State Forest where horses are allowed on the roads there, on the class 4 roads, but nobody knows, like there's no information out there where to go. Like horses you can go there, but you would have no idea where to park. You'd have no idea where to ride. So we're working on, hopefully this year we're going to start doing some mapping there. And then we have a members only Facebook page, and this is to help riders, members to, connect together to find people to ride with, things like that. And then, we also have educational events. Often they're member only, not necessarily, it depends. And so a couple years ago, we did a ride where, in addition to the ride, you would learn how to use a GPS program to you would get the map of the ride on your phone with the GPS program, and then you could follow along as you're riding, make sure you're on the map. And then we also we had last year, we had a trailer backing clinic, which was very well received. We're hoping to do that again. So we do some educational events. And anything you want to add, Jeanette? Did I forget anything?
No, Monica and I just got back today. We have a member who's a saddle fitter, and she just helped us with leather 101, and she taught us how to repair. Yeah.
I'm working on it right
things.
now. My
So,
little thing.
I just repaired a nice halter that's been sitting on the shelf for, I think, almost 2 years. So that was nice. So we just try and do things like that. Yay. So we can talk about some ideas. I just want to, and I'm sure this is true in the state of New Hampshire also, I think people underestimate how much money the equine business, the equine industry brings into the state. We did a economic impact study in 2018 for Vermont, and it was about $1.3 million annually in tax revenue. And I'm sure that is probably a conservative estimate. So I just want to pump all of us up and to be reminded that we drive a lot of money into our states. And not only that, but we also help to keep a lot of open land in our states. We are fast becoming the number one farmers in the state that keep our lands open, and also offer income for the dairy farmers who might no longer be milking their cows, but they want to make sure their lands stay open. So a lot of dairy farmers are now doing hay production. So I just
Did you
want
get
to.
help? Did you get help from anybody to do the impact study? We've kind of talked about that. We know desperately that we need it, but we haven't quite figured out how to get started and go about it.
Yes, well, we can help you with that. I think we raised $35,000 to do this study, and we got some grants from USCF, and we got some grants from local foundations. I know that the American Horse Council does one every 2 or 3 years. We're thinking about doing another one in 2027. So this might be something that we might want to collaborate on the roadmap to do that.
We used, was it the UVM?
Yeah.
The research, yeah. So your UNH probably has, or it has a survey research facility. And a lot of times universities, there are also private ones, but a lot of times universities, they'll have survey research department, and you can actually contract with them to help you with the survey, because you need a lot of expertise in how to write it and how to get it out and all those things. So that's what we spent the money on for the most part, I think, was hiring them to develop that with us. So
and write the report. So
yeah, so it's not like you just kind of like, okay, we'll just do this thing all on our own. There's people out there that have that expertise.
And just to kind of back up, this is Christina. We were lacking certain critical infrastructure, even as an organization, to even contemplate taking on a project of that magnitude.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet either. So it's definitely, something that we appreciate there's a need for, but as you've just articulated so clearly, it's a huge project, and that's really one of the main issues right now, is we just don't really have the bandwidth to take on something that big.
Yeah.
The thing that we found though was that as we went forward looking for support from our legislators, they always would ask us this. And so it really put that question to bed for us. And it helped to make us more credible. But I hear you, Christine. It was not easy. I mean, it was a lot of work. So, and a lot of money. So thank you. And I'll just open the floor and stop sharing, and we can just have open discussion about what you guys think that we might be able to do together.
Figure out what else we need to do a study.
The study is a big one for you.
I'm not sure that this time the board is ready to commit to something like that. But it is something certainly maybe in a 5-year plan. So if you were looking, down the pike, it's stuff, we appreciate the value of it, but I just really want to make sure we aren't going to overcommit.
Yeah.
Well, even I agree with Christina, but I'm thinking between the two of you, what I'm thinking of is defining what exactly it is that we need to do to get ready. I'm not sure that we have a list of knowing. I'm sure you know some of the things, but do we know the full list of what we need to do to be ready to do that? That's the first step.
Yeah, we're happy to, just have a discussion, Christina, whenever you're ready to do that. Yeah. Heidi Krantz was very instrumental in making that happen, and I'm sure she'd be happy to just chat about it.
We know where to go to get the resources when we are ready.
Okay.
And you guys are top on the list.
Great. Super.
Absolutely. Yep. Now, I know one of the things that you had talked about, Jeanette, was you've sort of talked about like a vision where maybe even just across the New England, right, that the horse councils could collaborate. Can you talk a little bit about why your vision's going that way, and why you think that might be something that the New England horse councils want to think about in the future?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but there are not horse councils in every state in the New England states. So Rhode Island doesn't have one. Connecticut was struggling, but I think they have one still. You are there, we're here. New York, even though they're not part of New England, they have a horse council.
Maine
does not have a horse council. And the other problem is similar to what I think all organizations that I talk to now are all struggling with people aging, and also finding volunteers. And so it's a dilemma for us. We're always sort of begging people to come onto our board. And so at some point, I don't know if it would make more sense to have us all as one group. So I don't know. Christine and I were talking about that privately a couple of months ago. I don't know. I don't know how that would work or how it would look organizationally, but it might provide us a little bit more resources to come together as a bigger group.
The trouble is it's harder to get people together.
Yes.
When we're so far apart. And even with Zoom, I mean, Zoom is amazing. But
at the same time, like, we have a pretty active equestrian community along the Connecticut River, which, is the border between the two states, right? And, Joanna, who did also have to leave early today for a work commitment, she lives in Piermont, and she would share with you that the majority of what she does, I mean, she already said that, right? When she goes to trail to drive her mare, she often ends up in Vermont, because that's where there are safe places for her to go with her horse, and logistically it's easier. So like there are certainly places where that kind of cross-state collaboration makes a ton of sense, and then there are places, maybe legislation wise or something, where it doesn't make as much sense. So it's definitely, it's something I will say as a board member of this organization now for 6 years, something like that. This concern that Jeanette just spoke to, that we have sort of an aging leadership population and not a lot of folks necessarily stepping up into those leadership roles. Like these are issues that could leave us without representation. It really could.
Yeah, another thing that came to mind is like Colorado, the Western states, being part of the coalition of horse councils, you kind of hear from the other states quite a bit. Colorado is just going through a huge revamp on their road laws because they've had so many accidents between vehicles and horses. And so I see something like that. If we were going to update legislation or motor vehicle laws in association to horses, it might be nice to have all of us speaking the same language and offer
That
the
makes
same
sense.
script.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wonder if there's some room for collaboration or at least cooperation around or mutual benefit around trails, especially the trails that are close to the border. So for example, when we once we get the trails at Willoughby State Forest, which like I said is very close to the border, New Hampshire border, once we get them mapped and we get all the information about where to park and all that stuff, minimally you could just link to that on your website, so that people have more ideas of places to ride. And then same, if you have, it doesn't look like you have a lot of trails listed on your site, just on my quick look, but if you have trails listed in New Hampshire that people might want to come over from Vermont, and that also, that's good economic impact, that, to show your like legislators that we're helping, we're advertising our trails here and we're helping bring people over from Vermont to spend money in our state. I think we could collaborate on something like that to just share the trails across the state lines.
We also have we have like 28 miles of trails in the Victory area, which the state of Vermont signed a agreement with Weyerhaeuser that that property there would be open to outdoor use. And we just had our very first collaboration with a snowmobile club up there, and they've done a ton of work on those trails. So they're acceptable now for driving vehicles. They're wide enough to drive if you're a driver, but they're also very beautiful to ride on. The thing is, you want to be a serious rider because the loops are big and it's not for the faint of heart when you go out and use those trails. But they also have opened, we had a hard time with parking our trailers. They've also opened their snowmobile property for us to use from May to the end of October. So we now have a really nice place to park vehicles, and we're going to do a grand opening on that in July, I think. But again, those are kind of little hidden gems that we're developing that would be open and be a nice collaboration with New Hampshire too.
But New Hampshire, I sit on the statewide trails advisory committee as the equestrian representative, and to me, we're probably like 20 years behind you. And that's partly, I think, the state's level of commitment to the non-motorized, and just feeling like we're just way behind and trying to engage. Like everything that you said has gone through my mind, and meaning like in the past. And slowly I'm trying to trying to get the equestrian community to buy in on some of the things that we are recently doing. And it's really I think the community itself is stuck, or there needs to be someone besides me that's maybe better at putting the information together to explain it to the equine community a little bit better, the trail community, on what the achievements are. So it's more, to me, it's like, where do I begin? It's like, what is there any suggestions that, don't have to do it today, is where's, after you've been doing this for a while, you've been fairly successful, is like, what were the steps that you went through that you think that would be productive for us to do when we are really struggling with feeling like we fit in even at the state level.
Yeah, we have, getting that cooperative agreement was no small feat. It took us literally, I want to say 7 years to get that thing in place. And what kind of got it going was that the bike community, the mountain bike community have a cooperative agreement. And so they wanted to have cooperative agreement for all these multi-use trails. So I hear you, Debbie. It sounds like, oh, wow, that's great, but it took a lot of effort.
Yeah, but I'm
And
even thinking like just at the very beginning at the state level is what, like at the stack meetings or whatever meeting you called it something else,
yeah,
but whether all the groups are there.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the conversation that actually goes on there and how often does that actually happen? I mean, we might meet 3 times a year, but the conversation about trail planning, and I've been kind of pushing that we, in our statute, is supposed to say trail planning and maintenance supposed to be part of the agenda items. They've been skirting around that for years so that we don't even know what's going on. We're not even privy to the RTP grants that the state is sponsoring. So, so I don't understand why don't we know what you're putting the money towards? Why aren't we able to advise you on where the money should go? So I'm kind of blindly saying, we want this, we want that type of thing.
yeah,
Or it
yeah,
would be nice to be this, but it's a hard, toe to get into the door.
yeah,
Debbie,
yeah.
There's conversations.
This board that you're talking about that you sit on, it sounds like similar to our Vermont Trails and Greenways Council and advises the state. You're saying they only meet 3 times a year?
Yeah. And that's a good year. I mean,
And are they mostly,
Look at Monica's face. She's like 3 times.
yeah, we meet monthly.
That's why I'm
Monthly.
asking. Right. And that's why I was asking. And I know like Massachusetts doesn't have a horse council, but they have a very active Bay State trail riders that work with their state a lot. But their state is set up different too. We learned that through the rail trail plan that New Hampshire did. They have a whole section in there of how the other states are working. And it's like,
It's a commonwealth. It's not a state.
yeah, our structure is lacking and dealing with non-motorized. But yeah, so yeah, I sit on that. We do, and I don't know how to reach forward sometimes.
I mean, I'm our representative to the Vermont Trails and Greenways Council, and we kind of had to fight to get, or push, we had to push to get a seat on the board. And I have to really bring up horses a lot, and I feel a little bad about it because all the other members of the board of the Greenways Council, like they represent snowmobiles and bikers and all these things. And they're always talking about the general good, trails in general, let's do this, let's do that, and accessibility. And nobody's like, well, what about the snowmobile? Like, but I'm always like, what the horses?
Yeah.
But I kind of have to, and they have been incredibly responsive. And one of the things the Greenways Council just launched a brand new website, and they asked people for photographs. So I sent a whole ton of photographs of horses, people riding horses on like state trails and stuff. And they've been hearing me kind of keep raising my hand, and they put a lot of pictures on there, which was really nice. So I think part of it's like being the squeaky wheel, and that when people like the RTP, like, hang on a second, what about equestrians? We need to get the word out to the community that these grants are available, or can we apply for a grant? So a lot of it's just And the other thing is, in terms of that's for the state, but then like for the public facing, do you all have a Facebook page for the Horse Council?
We do.
Okay. I think one of the really important things, and this is something I think we've done over the last couple of years, is we've really beefed up that page and we talk a lot about our accomplishments and what we're doing. And so, for example, like now that we have equestrian access to Willoughby State Forest, we'll be promoting that a lot. And this bill that's in the legislature. And I think that if people, they might not be members, but if they get a post or someone forwards a post to them about, oh, look, the Horse Council is trying to get farms, taxed at the same rate as dairy, horse farms taxed at the same rate as dairy farms. People will list, oh, wow, that's what they can do for me. And the more members, it's all synergistic, right? The more members you have, the more impact you have with the state, and that just the more attention you get in general.
It's hard, Debbie, because I think a lot of it also is just personal relationship.
Yes.
Actually knowing who to go to, who's a friend, and how to promote. Which I'm sure if you've been doing it, it sounds like you've been doing it a long time. So
yeah, and I need that second person. I can't be every type of personality, so I need that other personality that I'm not.
Yep, you do. You need help. I mean, there's no way we could have done this legislative thing. There is no way we could have done it without Heidi's committee. We have several strong people on that committee because we get a call in a moment's notice that says, "Oh, they want testimony tomorrow," and it's tough. It's tough to stay on top of it all. But anything that we can do to kind of help. I did write to Sarah. I forget her name. She's in your like our equivalent of agency and natural resources, and she wrote me back and said, "Oh, my sister had a horse," and we had a nice little conversation about horses. So that's the type of thing.
Right. And I think, what I'm hearing here in all of this discussion is just a lot of this work is very tedious, right? It takes a lot of diligence and follow through, and you kind of have to keep chipping away at it. And our guest speaker at this meeting last year was a SCORE representative who was talking about how to recruit volunteers and get the right people into the right jobs. And I think it's something that we and our affiliate orgs all are facing, right? Is trying to get those bodies. Because I will say, as a board member and as a leader, I like to focus on what's gettable, right? Like you kind of have to pick something, and whatever you choose to pursue as an organization means that something else has to fall off the agenda. You can't do everything. So, whether you're talking about an economic impact study or trying to make some headway with a particular committee, like you kind of have to pool your resources into those efforts, and then be strategic about what you're doing and what your next steps are. So I know we're getting close to time. I don't know if anyone had any other questions for Monica and Jeanette about the work they've done with the Vermont Horse Council. I think a lot of what they're doing are things that we would like to continue to move toward with the New Hampshire Horse Council. Like you heard their discussion about the educations. Like, I want to know how to fix my leather halters. That would be really helpful. That would be really helpful.
I invited you all.
Yeah, we should. So we will make sure you're invited when we do these.
And I think this has been really, really great, and just to kind of start the dialogue and know that we have resources for each other that might be able to help. So thank you so much, ladies, for taking the time and for sharing your wisdom with us. Before we wrap up for the day, I do see that Kathy is here. So Kathy Lang is here. She's like pretending that she's not being discussed. But I don't know if Sue reached out to you or not, but Kathy, we are so honored and happy to share that you have been selected as the 2025 New Hampshire Horse Person of the Year. And we read this really amazing nomination, which I'm not going to read again because we'll all start crying again. But maybe I should. Let me pull it out. Will you guys indulge just a moment? Okay, I of course moved it to my file as I do because that's how I roll. Maybe I can just open it on my computer. That might be faster.
I
Anyway.
think Kathy's trying to say something, but she's on mute.
Okay. Well, Kathy,
I-
you work on
I-
unmuting.
I can send her a request to unmute, so it'll be a little bit easier.
Okay. So you do that and then Kathy can talk and I'll find my notes.
There we go. Maybe something will pop up there.
Thank goodness for
Yeah,
genius
okay,
like
got it.
Fred.
I am beyond honored. I am in tears. Thank you so much. I so appreciate this and the recognition for Becky's gift.
All right. Everybody ready? Take a deep breath. I'm gonna read this again. Okay. So Becky's gift. Let me yeah, hang in there. All right. So we found these wonderful photos of you. So, Becky's Gift is an all-volunteer 501c3 nonprofit foundation that provides temporary assistance to New Hampshire horses in times of need. When owners experience difficulties in their lives, care for their horses can be a burden. Our intervention provides short-term relief such as hay, grain, veterinary and farrier services so that horses are kept in good health. 100% of all donations go directly to help horses in New Hampshire. Kathy and her program fit exactly the description for Horse Person of the Year. Nominee selflessly dedicates their time and energy toward helping, promoting, and unifying New Hampshire's horse community, or has otherwise been an exemplary role model or advocate for horses in our state. In 2005, after a tragic accident, Kathy lost her daughter Becky. To honor Becky's memory, her deep love for horses, and her desire to help others, Becky's Gift was formed. And then we have some testimonials. I've spent many hours trying not to dwell on what might have been if not for Becky's gift. It scares me. You truly are angels, and I and all the furry and fuzzy critters in my backyard, barnyard are eternally grateful. Another recipient, I still remember how helpless I felt a few years ago when I found out I needed to stay in the hospital longer than anticipated and I had no hay in the barn or on order, and I just could not think about my recovery, knowing I was feeling all those hungry mouths that count on me every day. Your assistance brings me much peace of mind, and thank you, thank you, thank you for that. When circumstances in one's life take a turn and you find yourself struggling to care for the beloved horse or horses who have been with you for many, many years, words cannot sufficiently express the gratitude in finding Becky's gift. The immediate response, visit, and conversation without judgment and resulting assistance and friendship provide a sense of relief as you work to turn those circumstances toward a better place. Becky's gift is a beautiful testimony to the spirit of giving, a love of horses, and life that Becky lived. I did not know her, but I'm certain Becky's presence is there with each visit and call for help received. Thank you, Kathy and Becky's gift. So on behalf of the New Hampshire horse community, we are so grateful for you and the work you have done to better the lives of New Hampshire's equestrians. So
thank you. Thank you. I am speechless and so honored. Thank you. And Becky, thank you too. She's been with us from the beginning.
I am confident of that.
Oh,
Pat, do you have her plaque available? Do you have it nearby? So we do have a plaque for you that we will figure out how to get to you. Either we'll coordinate an in-person or we'll send it through the mail. But Pat is our resident plaque distributor, coordinator, expert.
please know how honored I am in this and all the work that we've done has to be recognized for that. Thank you. And thank you to all the horse world that helped and sent those nice notes. I'm in tears. Thank you.
Well, we're so grateful and I'm so glad you were able to join us. So on that, there's the plaque. Pat has it up there on her screen. So
do we have an address? We do have her address, right?
Well, yeah, I have all that on, and we'll make sure we'll get that sorted.
Oh, good with the new logo.
Yeah. So So with that, we have reached the end of our agenda. I'm sure we're happy to keep the Zoom open if anyone would like to chat, but also it's like 47 degrees out, so you might want to run around in a t-shirt outside. I don't know.
Move we adjourn.
Yeah. But thank you everybody so much for taking the time, for all of your contributions and efforts. We really appreciate it. And Jeanette, thank you again for joining us. And Kathleen, congratulations and thank you for
thank you. Thank you.
all
You've
right,
made my year. Thank you.